Guys, excuse me, we're trying to put him behind the... Hey, that's my guy. That's my guy. Stop. Hey.
That was Rebel News reporter David Menzies being hauled away and arrested by Toronto police during a pro-Hamas protest. This comes as the Canadian House of Commons is set to pass a law called the Online Harm Act that will make it even more difficult to do this kind of reporting.
We don't have, unfortunately, the First Amendment in Canada, and this new Online Harms Act, otherwise known as Bill C-63, you can basically describe it as the anti-First Amendment, or the First Amendment if there was a First Amendment on the bizarro Superman planet, because it is completely anti-free speech. Before I get into my rest, I'll run down some of the shocking, censorious aspects of Bill C-63. For starters, somebody can file a complaint about something you said online, and it's retroactive. So maybe you made a posting 15 years ago, you don't even remember it. This anonymous person, you don't even get the right to know your accuser, and if you find out, you can't out him or her, because that'll be an additional fine. They can file a complaint, and they're entitled to $20,000 in compensation if it's upheld by one of the 3 new bureaucracies that are going to enforce this act. Get a load of this. There's a service charge that the government gets. It's $50,000. So, in other words, they're going to monetize this bill. Now, the other thing is that if the government suspects you are going to perhaps say something hateful in the future, you will be put under house arrest with an ankle bracelet for something you haven't even done. So, in other words, Emma, it's kind of like 1984 meets Minority Report. I have never seen something more chilling than this. They're also going to go after social media companies if you don't take down something the government deems hateful.
Let me jump in really quick because we're limited with time with you, but you got the major points out there. The fines, again, hate speech going back in time, looking at what you've said in the past. I get the reference, the Minority Report reference there. We had your editor-in-chief on explaining that very thing last week, but I'll move past that. I wanted to ask you about the video that we're watching. How does that tie to hate speech? What were you being arrested for?
That's a great question, Sean, and I will be in for my first court appearance in Toronto later today. But that's the perverse irony that we have in the streets of Toronto and so many other Western cities, I would argue. The pro-Hamas crowd since October has been openly chanting hatred from the river to the sea, Intifada, go back to Poland. It's all coded language, the Poland reference meaning go to Auschwitz if you're Jewish. And basically, law enforcement is no longer enforcing the law. It is doing what they call keeping the peace. That's a code word for bending the knee to the mob. Now, I'm on King Street outside the King Eddie Hotel there. There were the pro-Hamas people that I understand, I didn't realize at the time, were getting ready to take over a street to pray. And basically, me asking questions was deemed incitement, if you will. And the police came along, they physically grabbed me, they took me away. Now, okay, that's fine, let me go. Oh no, they weren't done with me yet. They wanted to humiliate me. So they arrested me for the official charges: obstruct a police officer. As you can see in the video, there's obstruction all right, but it's on me. I was then thrown in a paddy wagon, taken to a solitary cell for over 4 hours, and finally released a couple weeks ago. I went for the fingerprinting and mug shots. So they're making an example out of me, whereas actual hate speech laws that are on the book, i.e. inciting harm or death to an individual or a recognizable group of individuals, they are turning a blind eye. And it is absolutely despicable. I'll have an update for you later, guys. when I have my first court hearing today.
Well, please keep us posted because that's just fascinating to again see what's happening with our neighbors to the north here, David. And it's not the first time that you've been arrested in the midst of reporting for Rebel News. You know, we think about our White House reporters. They're constantly asking members of Congress questions, members of administrations questions. You were trying to do so with the Deputy Prime Minister, the Finance Minister, and then the bodyguard stepped in. We've got that clip.
Ms. Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo nationalism? What? You hear me? What do you mean? You're under arrest for assault. Sir, why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault. You're under arrest for assault. Police. Police, you're under arrest for assault. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me. I was just swerving. I got my credentials here and you just bumped into me. So police, you're under arrest. What is your name in your bag?
Okay, David, what happened here?
That's a great question, isn't it? That was a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I didn't know that. He didn't have a badge. He wouldn't give his name or badge number at the time. And as the video clearly shows, Emma, I'm walking along. I felt him before I saw him, which is to say I'm kind of doing this crab walk, looking at Minister Freeland, trying to scrum her. And then he put his arm out, kind of like a basketball pick or a wrestling clothesline, choose whatever sports metaphor you want. And he then goes into full stitch-up mode, i.e., you assaulted me. I should tell you, I was, again, handcuffed, put in the back of a police cruiser. But within 45 minutes, this officer decided to drop the charges. My speculation is he saw video of this. There were several people eyewitnessing this and filming this. He probably said, this looks bad. I'm going to drop the charges and it's going to go away. Well, guess what? It's not going away. 2 weeks ago, we served the Mounties and Minister Freeland and the York Regional Police with a $1 million lawsuit. That's a big deal in Canada. I would argue in the U.S. it would be in the tens of millions of dollars regarding a First Amendment breach. And it's going to take years and it's going to take a lot of money, but we are fighting this false arrest, this assault. Those are the minor things. The big things is that our existing constitutional rights to carry out freedom of the press in Canada were clearly violated on several sections. And I'm very confident if we get a reasonable judge that we are going to find success in this claim.
All right. Again, just asking questions on behalf of Rebel News consumers. Again, a news organization that seems to question the authority of government officials in Canada. This is typical of any news organization here in the States. David Menzies, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story. We'll be sure to follow up with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma and Sean.
You're welcome. Still to come.